Hello, Stephen. Hello.
Hello.
Again. How's it going?
Test, test.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in the last one.
The Middlesex County Public School Board meeting for June 13th, 2022 is now in session. Is there a motion to go into close?
So,
Is there a second?
second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
There's second.
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Pursuant to the Code of Virginia, the board discussed personnel matters, student matters, and legal matters during closed session. Matters discussed in closed session have been added to the consent agenda and other parts of the agenda as action and information items. When members of the board certify that only lawful matters were discussed in closed session, please answer by roll call.
Mr. Reed,
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Sarchet,
Yes.
Ms. McMurtry?
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right, will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? Wait, we gotta move that. Flag? I can hold it. Flag, sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right, Dr. Sites, recognition.
Recognitions. Well, the one recognition we have this evening is that it is Mrs. Jordan's last school board meeting. And I shared when we had our end of the year recognitions that Mrs. Jordan has been with us for 15 years in the role of executive to the superintendent and the school board clerk. And that she has, during that 15 years, has worked for 6 superintendents. Quite an achievement on her part.
Yes, it is.
6 superintendents. So we, I can certainly speak for our office and what she's done for us and keeping us all straight and reminders on our end. But then the second most important piece that she does also is to handle all of the work for the school board. So I know Mrs. Sochak, you would like to share a little bit also.
It's so hard to really say goodbye to Peggy because she has broken us in. Well, me, I guess you were here before Peggy,
Yes.
but the rest of us she's been the one to take the babies and bring them along and
Keep me straight.
make sure and keep us straight and make sure that we were where we were supposed to be, and sometimes an extra phone call to remind us that you're 10 minutes late. Yes. And always with grace and kindness. And just that's you, Peggy. You just are generous with your time and helping all of us. And as we said, the day of June 2nd, when we had the end of the year program, there's not a person in this division that hasn't been graciously touched by you. And we appreciate it so much. And we're happy to sign you up for some committee.
I'm happy to help in any way. I'm gonna miss you all.
We will miss you. All right, additions or corrections to the minute. I believe we have some addition, the financial report and the report from Honeywell. And that's it, right? The
Another
financial
facilities use report.
and facility use report. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the additions to the agenda?
So moved.
There's a second?
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Public announcements, June 20th, Juneteenth holiday, the school division will be closed. July the 4th, Independence Day holiday, the school division will be closed. And July the 11th is the next school board meeting at St. Clair Walker Middle School in the auditorium at 6:30. The floor is open for public comment. Hearing and seeing none, then the floor is now closed. Public comment. Board member reports. Dr. Burnett?
Since our last meeting, I have attended a meeting of the Chesapeake Bay Governor's School Executive Committee, at which we accepted and approved the recommendation from the search committee to hire Dr. Jason Strong as the new director. Dr. Strong is currently the principal of Richmond County Elementary and Middle School and is hard at work getting orientation for his new job. I think he'll do a great job.
Great. I know that relieves you all to have that done.
It does. And I also attended 2 meetings of the Middlesex Foundation. They're in the process of looking at their mission statement and deciding what the kinds of things they're going to get into next. I'll have more to report perhaps at a next meeting.
Okay, thank you, sir. Ms. McMurtry?
Let's see, it was May 16th, there was a WHRO meeting. One fun takeaway was they have a great free program for elementary, geared more to the elementary school, called Green Beats, all about recycling. Very, very nice presentation. And I've emailed, excuse me, Danielle. So
Great.
hopefully they can get on the
List there. to get
list,
that.
yeah,
Cool.
before.
Mr. Reed, anything?
No, not really. Just talk with Dustin this evening and see the parking lot and all that's being done, and
Fabulous.
they'll be finished this week, right, Dustin? Okay.
That's great. The regional sped board will meet in July, towards the end of July, so I'll have a report in August. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move.
There's a second?
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, our budget, our action items start with the budget transfer request, Dr. Stites.
Yes, ma'am, and we will start on page 35. We have one budget transfer request, and that is ESSER 2 fund, where we're just moving it from one category that it was in cafeteria, where it's no longer needed there, and moving it to cover other materials and supplies, and let's see, I'm looking back through my notes here. We had applied for a grant, which you will see actually in the appropriations request, to upgrade the server lines in MES, and the grant did not cover all of it. So we're moving some funds over for that. And then also the additional cost for the paving, lining, and ceiling. So it's just a movement within ESSER 2.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the budget transfer request?
So move.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? An appropriations request.
In appropriations, we have 3, and the first one starts on page 39. That one is insurance funds, and that's to cover storm damage to MHS rooftop unit. The second appropriation request was additional funds that were supplied to us from USDA to address any supply chain shortages with reference to the cafeteria and items that were used there. And then the third is what I mentioned as the USDA equipment assistance grant, and that will go towards an upgrade, or mostly covering the upgrade to the cafeteria serving line at MES.
Is there a motion to approve the appropriations request?
So moved.
There's a second? Second. Any questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, our contract award for grounds maintenance.
All right, so for grounds maintenance, that RFP closed last week. We received 3 bids. All 3 were significantly above what we had budgeted. And we had increased our budget going into 22-23 for grounds maintenance. But again, like I said, this was a significant increase. And so both Mr. Harris and Ms. Murray and I met this morning, and what we would like to propose is that we move forward with hiring the maintenance position that we were trying to include in our budget, and have that position, or the maintenance department, consume all of the grounds maintenance. That would cover the 3 schools. At this point, we have a member in the maintenance department that's doing most of the work at the high school anyway on the Sid Thrift athletic contract, and he's licensed in areas that we need licensing, which was part of the RFP. To us, it just makes sense because of that significant increase is to be able to use those funds to add that maintenance position, so that that person can, as I said, cover the grounds maintenance, but then also be an additional person to cover things that are going on in the schools. And so that's what we bring to you this evening instead of moving forward and negotiating a contract with a grounds maintenance company.
So the assumption is that this will be saving us money.
So
Correct.
So we'll have to purchase our own equipment.
We will, and we've discussed what some of those needs would be,
Okay.
and we would be able to move forward with that immediately, if that's the way that the board wants to move. We would make those purchases immediately, and then build and move forward in hiring a maintenance person.
Does the contract end June 30? When does-
June 30th.
It does,
Mhm.
June 30th.
Yeah, so we were bringing this to you this evening so whoever was awarded this contract would begin July 1.
Okay.
Because the other contract does come to an end on the 30th.
All right, is there a motion to approve the facilities? No, sorry, the contract, to not award the contract, but to hire personnel to take care of, maintain our grounds force.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions or comments for Dr. Seitz?
Who are we looking to acquire the equipment from?
That I'm looking over at Mr. Harris. Well, I don't know that we've made a decision on who we would acquire it from,
Mhm.
but whoever could provide it to us immediately.
Okay,
Does that require an RFP?
It no,
require 3 bids.
right.
3 bids,
Mhm,
okay,
But not an RFP, yes.
okay.
okay. All right.
Any other question? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Any approved? You think, so? Okay, any opposed? None. Okay, I think you get permission to move forward with that.
Thank you.
All right, now we have a contract award for our propane.
The propane. We had one bid for that. Phillips Energy was the one company that bid on that. We've looked through that, and Mr. Harris has spoken with them also. We are comfortable in moving forward with a recommendation that we do obtain that company for a contract for propane.
And that's for a 1-year contract.
It is, I'm looking at, it's a 4-year
4 year.
contract with the option of renewals.
Okay.
And so what's negotiated there, just to give you a little bit more money, is the price of propane is kind of set. There's a, without going into a ton of details, there's an Opus daily rate and a BPN weekly rate. Their preference is to use the daily rate, and so it's not large swings and fluctuations in
Mhm,
prices, which
mhm.
would also benefit us, but that's a set price on propane. The other piece is the differentiated amount that gets added onto that. And so that's the piece that becomes the important part of the contract.
Okay, is this a will call contract or automatic fill? Automatic,
Mhm.
okay.
All of our cafeterias use it.
I can speak loud. No, cafeterias aren't taking with gas anymore. Propane, goes for our water heaters and our boilers.
Okay,
So, big drives, but
yes. Okay, yeah. Is there a motion? Have we done the motion? No. Is there a motion to approve the contract for propane?
So move.
There's a second.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. And now we have the VIPSA reimbursement resolution.
Yes, and that is located on page 44. And this is actually, I had to get Karen to explain it to me because if you'll notice, it says that we are paying ourselves back.
Yes.
But so what happens there is that we sign this reimbursement by June so that we can begin the purchase on July 1. Because the bond's not issued until May of next year. And so that's the payback piece of it. But this signing this resolution allows us to go ahead and start purchases for the next fiscal year immediately when the fiscal year starts. Then we pay back what we've used there. This is something that you see
Yes,
annually.
every year.
In
Yes.
June.
And are we already paying back ourselves from this past year?
Yes, I've already filed for that reimbursement.
Right. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the BIPSA reimbursement resolution?
So moved.
There's a second?
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, now we have a group of policy revisions on first reading. Dr. Sight.
We do. So most of these revisions are a code change or a small name change within the policy, but there are a couple that you do need to make some decisions on. And so first, I will refer you to policy BDD, electronic participation in meetings in remote locations. It begins on page 91, but I'll ask you to turn to page 92. And at the bottom, what needs to be included in the policy is that individual school board members may be allowed to attend virtually to a school board meeting that is taking place in person. And there's 4 different reasons that would allow that. The first is that a member has a temporary or permanent disability or medical condition. The second is that same thing, but that it's a family member with a medical condition. The third would be the member's principal residence is more than 60 miles from the meeting location, which would not happen in Middlesex unless the meeting location was moved somewhere out of the county. So that would be rare. The fourth one that you'll need to take action on is if a member is unable to attend because of a personal matter. And in this case, you need to designate the maximum number of times that can be allowed. And so the maximum number that could be allowed is 3 because it's based on either twice a year or 25% of your annual meeting times, and you meet 12 times a year. The greater of the 2, which is 3. And so the maximum could be 3. However, any board can determine to set that lower. So the board will need to take action on that.
Is there discussion on this? What's your pleasure? 2, 3? The only time I think we did this, I was at Johns Hopkins with my husband and I called in.
And that would have met the medical condition.
The medical condition,
Mhm.
right?
And this one is specifically for a personal matter, in
Right.
which it would need to be, the school board chair would need to give that reason at the beginning, and then the board determines if that is an allowable reason to attend virtually. And they'd have to give specific reasons, and if it was approved, yes, if it was not, then a specific reason, why not? But you do have to set a maximum number of times that would be allowed.
Well, and with today's time, say the reason I was out the last meeting. For
That's
exposure,
medical.
That would be
That
medical.
would be a medical.
Mhm.
So that isn't included in
This
this.
would be vacation.
Vacations, yeah.
If I can add,
Mhm.
policy as it stands right now, is 2 meetings or 25%.
Right.
That
I
sounds
would say
good.
leave it at that.
Sounds good.
I'll leave it at that.
Okay, so 2 meetings, not more than 2.
Mhm.
Okay, Dr. Sites?
I'll add also in this policy, not anything to make a decision on, but just pointing out is that during COVID, obviously we were able to hold board meetings virtually. That is not allowed unless the governor has declared a state of emergency,
Mhm.
which is why it was allowed at that time.
Right.
Your locality can declare a state of emergency also, but that would be rare probably that Middlesex County would declare that without the state having declared it. So I just point that out as something else. So next I would refer you to policy JED, Student absences, excuses, and dismissals, which begins on page 168. And so this is another piece, which is a new part of the policy that you need to take action on, and it's reference to participation in 4-H educational programs or activities. This has not been in the history of Middlesex County Public Schools, has not been a concern there that students were missing more time than necessary to participate. So my recommendation really would be in that wording that it says more in line with absences for 4-H educational programs or activities must be pre-approved by the principal instead of setting a maximum.
And this is just specific to that.
That line is specific to 4-H programs or activities.
Not to throw a monkey wrench in here, but if we were to have a student be a page at the General Assembly, they are missing a considerable amount of time.
They are. And so I will, at the bottom of here, when it says that insert list of reasons for excused absences, what we have used in the past is illness, court appearance, death, religious holidays, field trips, extenuating circumstances determined by the school administration. And so that opens it up for someone to be in contact with the administration to approve that. With the PAGE program, they page during the day and then they have their school
They do.
in the evening. And that's, as a principal, actually it was Sarah Page Murray who
Mhm.
participated in that.
And that's actually the only program in the Code of Virginia that's allowed. You're allowed to miss school.
Right.
Mhm.
And my daughter did that too.
Mhm.
So, yeah. But it's interesting that this is so specific when there
I
are
thought-
other,
I thought that also. So,
it's okay.
But I guess I could see 4-H horse shows or several day
You must have a good lobbyist.
events.
I know in the western part of the state, they're huge 4-H programs, so I can see why they would be going to a national 4-H conference or something like that, which may take considerable amount of time. All right, so your wording is as approved by the principal?
as approved by the principal, pre-approved by the principal,
Okay.
yes. And then within that policy also, in the next page, 169, third paragraph down, where it says high school students may spend and ask for a maximum number of days participating in high school to work participation or partnerships, I would recommend it stays with the current wording that says any days pre-approved by the principal. Because once a student is working in that capacity, it's gone through guidance, it's gone through principal, and it's been signed off on at the central office level.
Okay. Anything else?
I think that is it for, yeah, those are the only things that I wanted to point out specifically in policy.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve policies listed as A through GG on first reading with the amended statements of with let's see, BDD, the 2 meetings approved to miss for remote locations, and JED as approved by the principal.
So move.
There's a second.
Second.
Any other questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, VSBA policy service agreement.
And that is located on page, actually starts on page 221, and this is the annual agreement with VSBA. And that they provide policy review, revisions, any new policies required by code, and that also includes consultation with their staff, which includes an attorney that they have on staff. And so this would be the annual agreement. Of course, there's cost to that. But it includes all of those things.
Is there a motion to approve the policy services agreement with VSBA? Is
So moved.
there a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Our boiler replacement.
Well, our at St. Clair Walker, so if you remember, we've already replaced the chiller here, and now it's time for the boiler to be at the end of its life. It is 30 years old, which takes it to the end of its lifespan. I think we've been lucky that it's lasted this long, but it is in need of significant repair. And so we reached out to Honeywell to get a quote on what replacement would be, and that's included in what we added to the agenda this evening. We do have ESSER 3 funds that are both available and allowed to cover this cost. So we are asking for approval to move forward with that.
So here is another $100,000 that is not coming out of the county.
That is
coffers.
exactly right. It's too bad Mr. Cheney's not here from.
Well over 1.1 million now.
Yeah, but
Excellent.
that is correct, because we would have had to, this would be a CIP project that we would be going to the county to ask for. So we're able to take it.
Is there a motion to approve the replacement of the boiler at St. Clair Walker?
So, second.
All right. Any questions about this? 30-year-old, I mean, it doesn't know it's a thing. It really has
Nice.
helped. It's done well. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, Dr. Bishop, language arts textbook adoption. Takes me back.
So this is the adoption of middle school for St. Clair Walker textbook adoption for language arts. So we have been through this review process. So this is our process. We started in January. We have a committee of teachers, principals, literacy coordinator, myself, looking through all of the textbooks, establishing why we need them, the need for this, and I'll go more in depth in the presentation. Contacting representatives, getting samples, reviewing the samples, meeting with all the representatives, and then finally selecting 2 textbooks. And then it's almost like a round robin, really, and trying to figure out which is the best for our students. So next slide. This is, again, this is just giving you information about the textbook. What I plan to do with this is also present it to the community so they have access to these texts. Why are we doing this? We really wanted a thematic approach to our curriculum. So it's not just hit or miss. We really wanted to build upon 6th, 7th, and 8th with the same type of instructional resources. The texts that are varied. It's not just a novel study. It's many different types of literacy. And really, one thing that was really important to our committee was the opportunity to write. You write to learn, and the more you write, the better writers you become. So engaging that writing process. Steve. And then with this EL curriculum, the lessons are embedded in terms of the writing, the reading, the oral language. It's differentiated, and it really is the foundational reading level. So we're looking at explicit reading instruction. If the new legislation most likely will come out with, we have the pre-K through 3rd grade for literacy. Now we're almost sure it's gonna be 4th through 8th with that explicit reading instruction, and this aligns with that. And it also has formative and summative and also performance tasks. So those were the criteria that we looked at when we were reviewing these sites. So the EL curriculum, I'll present this to you. The EL curriculum has all that we wanted. It is an open educational resource, so it is free, but in order for us to adopt it, there are 2 different companies that will kind of package it. So it's really accessible, and it goes into our Canvas learning management system. So it is cost effective. It builds upon knowledge. It's not just sporadic. It really builds upon each other. It has the 4 strands of literacy for reading, writing, speaking, and thinking. Again, it has an explicit reading instruction and explicit writing instruction that we want our students to have. And that's why it's important to have that vertical articulation of that reading and writing instruction. And it dives down into pretty good content, and it's aligned with our SOLs, and it also aligned with our history. So a lot of our history things that come upon, we can align that together. And so our next steps is to post this curriculum to our website. And what I wanted to further reflect that our teachers last year, as it is an open educational resource, use one or two of those units and instructed the students with that kind of thinking about how to improve their curriculum. We're to seek the feedback from the community. Again, it's open educational resources. I post the link. I put a Google form so they can provide me comments and feedback, and they can read lesson plans and anything they would like to with this particular curriculum. And then in July, I'm going to collate the feedback, give it back to our committee, ask them for their opinions, and then ask for the July our school board to approve this curriculum. So are there any questions with the process or the EL curriculum itself, or where we're heading with our middle schoolers?
I love the vertical alignment.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be nice. I'm middle school, principal, teacher, and you're kind of you're the sandwich. And so if you have that alignment, 6th, 7th, and 8th, the high school knows what's coming up and knows what we're bringing in terms of their skills to the high school.
I think the process is excellent. My question has to do with getting feedback from the community. Not everyone in our county has access to the internet. Is there a way that someone who doesn't have that ability through some digital means to express their opinion? And to get the information and then express their opinion?
What I will do on that Google form as well is if they would like to call me or call Haley, our literacy coordinator, that is one way to get that information. We'll also print out a copy of that curriculum. And more difficult at the Sacred Walker based on construction, we'll put that at the school board office for any community member to have access to that.
Great.
So that will be on the Google form too. So
That should do it.
you need access to that, but it'll be all posted on the website as well.
Okay.
Hopefully they'll have some good feedback from the community.
Any other questions?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so much.
All right. I guess the floor is open for public comment.
Good evening. My name is Dawn Moore. I live in Urbana. I attended the Middlesex High School graduation. And I really wanted to commend Ms. Fleet for her comment instead of having a speaker up there. When she had a thought or had an interaction with every one of them children, that was amazing. And it was just wonderful to see them sit there and laugh at each other and to do that instead of having all those regular speakers. My nephew was very happy when he graduated and he loved every one of you. That was my nephew.
Yes.
That hugged all of you across the
Yes.
stage and forgot his diploma. And I also would like to thank everybody and Ms. Peg for working with us and Mr. Harris and Mr. Hall with all their hard work they're doing with helping us prepare everything for this weekend with the Motown that is sold out.
Great.
So every one of these seats will be filled. And with the Juneteenth festival, that will be at the high school on Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moore.
Thank you.
Yes, we should commend Ms. Fleet. It was a lovely graduation. There's no doubt about it. It was delightful. I even enjoyed laughing at some of the things. Yeah. Anyone else for public comment? Public comment is now closed. Dr. Seitz, anything else for the good of the group?
I'll just wrap us up and I can piggyback on what was more shared because that's what I was going to kick it off with is that we had both fifth grade and eighth grade promotion ceremonies in here on the last day of school. They flowed very nicely. We had lots of families attend and we were able to get one group out and the next group in. We recognize that next year we'll need a little bit of traffic help with that, but overall it worked well and those ceremonies were nice too. And then of course, the next day we had the high school graduation. I also like what Ms. Fleet adopted in that ceremony and speaking about each one of those students instead of having a speaker. It was efficient. It was well run. There's a lot of work that goes into the planning of all of those ceremonies. And I think that, our administrators and teaching staff did a great job with those. And so that was on Saturday. We came back on Monday and then Tuesday kicked off 3 days of administrative retreat meeting with teams of all of our administrators, directors. We had a number of teachers with us on the first day. We were working on our strategic plan. And so a new, this is coming to you, a new mission and vision, objectives and strategies. We're working on that. We also spent time planning the opening of school, even though it just had closed a few days before. We were already in the works of opening and getting those plans laid out for our pre-service week and then what professional development will look like as we go through the year, classroom expectations and standards. We had some training on performance matters, and then we wrapped up our last day on doing a SWOT analysis on our safety plan as we review that and take a hard look at upgrades and things we need there. And so there was no downtime in the ones who came back to work last Monday. That's what the summer looks like. Speaking of summer programs started this week at the elementary school and then Compass, and we have some things going on at the high school. It's kind of short and sweet, but it just kicks off like a summer camp theme for students that were identified for that. We do, just to keep you up to date on the MHS renovation proposal, we have a meeting Wednesday with the architects to come back and kind of lay out what we're looking at is 3 good plans that in the near future we'll be bringing to the board to propose. And so that's just keeping you up to date on that. So summer has begun, and it's extremely busy.
And JRTC, do we know any updates on that?
So we had, Ms. Fleet had, and I was not able to attend it because I think I was at a Region 3 superintendent's meeting, but we had Lieutenant Colonel Smith come and present. We have a strong group of students who are interested. I'd like to move forward with 10 slots there, which is going to require me going back to the county and asking for $30,000 for that, which I think is a steal. Absolutely. I think that's a steal that we could offer that to kids without having the program in-house, which is several $100,000. So we've got a good group of students who are very interested.
We're blessed to have that drop in our lap. Like it was.
All right. Is there any old business to come for the group? Any new business? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll take that as a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Great. All right.
Hate to say, but go Army.